Welcome back, dear students. A very good morning to all. In previous classes, we discussed about the new chapter. That new chapter is nothing but a organism and its population. In this chapter, you discussed what is the meaning of ecology and who coined the term ecology and who given the definition of the ecology. And also we discussed about the types of ecology. The types of ecology, in that there are two types. You all know that there is the main types, that is out ecology and syn ecology. And next we discussed about the level of organizations. Those level of organizations should be based on the biome or biosphere conditions. And next population, next community. The population, community, biome, biosphere, these are all called as a level of organization. Because how these organisms should be living in climatic condition. That climatic conditions we are called it is a environment. We must be interrelationship with the environment or interaction with the environment based on the habitat conditions, because all organisms have a different type of the body temperatures. Based on their body tolerance level, they must be adjusted to the suitable temperature, suitable climatic conditions. In that way, the different organizations are there. Like that we discussed as a population, we discussed what is the meaning of population, what is demographic conditions, and what is community conditions, and finally we know that what is biosphere and what is the biomes. Those are the different habitats are there in the biosphere, and the unit of biosphere we call it is a biome. Like this all concept we discussed in last classes. Same general continue concept in today's class we are going to discuss. The main topic is that is called as a biotic components. In ecology, there are two types of the factors will be there, or two types of components are there. So one is that biotic components or biotic factors, and another one is that abiotic components, or it's also called as abiotic factors. Biotic component, it is related to the living organisms, and abiotic components, it is related to the climatic condition. What are the factors which are present in climates, in the environment, in the atmosphere, like that temperature, like that light, air, water, soil. These are all called as a abiotic factors, because the living organism must be have the interrelationship between these abiotic factors. So that's way in the ecology terms, so we know that there are two types of the factors. In that the first factor is called as a biotic factors. Let us, we are going to start the biotic component. What these component consist of? These biotic component consist of, the first one is that producers, so next consumers, and next decomposers. Like that there are three main processes are there, or categories you are going to call. Those are nothing but a producers are there, consumers are there, decomposers are there. So before that, dear students, I am going to give you some hints about this concept. In previous classes, in school level, you are discussed about the almost the food web and food chain. And also you discussed about the ecological pyramids. The food web, food chain, ಅವು ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಹಾರ ಜಾಲ ಅಥವಾ ಆಹಾರ ಸರಪಳಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ ಆಹಾರ ಜಾಲ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆಹಾರ ಸರಪಳಿ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಪಿರಾಮಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಥರನಾಗಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತವೆ. ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಎಕಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪಿರಾಮಿಡ್ ಹಾಕಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಈ ಎಕಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪಿರಾಮಿಡ್ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಯಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರಿತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಟ್ರಯಾಂಗಲ್ ಶೇಪ್, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಎ ಟ್ರಯಾಂಗಲ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಎಕಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪಿರಾಮಿಡ್ in ecology way. So there is having a some levels are there, those levels are called as a trophic levels. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲನ್ನು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ T1 ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್ T2, ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್ T3 ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಒನ್ T4, ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ದೆನ್ ಇನ್ T1 level almost all there is the presence of the first category, that category only called as a producers. The producers, it is, if you going to think, this is a one type of the ecosystem that is called as a grassland ecosystem, ಹುಲ್ಲುಗಾವಲು ಪ್ರದೇಶ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಹುಲ್ಲುಗಾವಲು ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವು, ಯಾವ ಜೀವಿ ಯಾವುದರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್, in T1 level we call it as a producers nothing but I am going to write here grass. What is this? Grass. ಆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಡಿಫೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಯಾವುದು? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಎ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಹೋಫರ್. ಆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಹೋಪರ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಡಿಫೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಯಾವುದು? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಅನದರ್ ಒನ್ ಫ್ರಾಗ್. ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಸ್ನೇಕ್, ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಈಗಲ್, ಈಗಲ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ the top carnivorous including human beings also present. So this type of the pyramids, this type of the pyramid resembles to which organism is going to depend upon the which one. If suppose one organism number will be decreases, ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಯ್ತಂತಂದರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಸೊ ಡಿಫೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದಂಥ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ದ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಎ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಈ ಥರನಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ರೀ? ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಎ ಗ್ರಾಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಡಿಫೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂತಾರೆ? ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಈ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಟಗರೀಸ್ ಬರ್ತವೆ, ಮುಂದೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಯು ನೋ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್, ಟರ್ಸರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ, ಟರ್ಸರಿ ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು? ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್. ಬಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಹರ್ಬಿವೋರಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್. ಸಸ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ತಿನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಹರ್ಬಿವೋರಸ್, ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಮಾಂಸಗಳನ್ನು ತಿನ್ನುವಂಥ ಜೀವಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವೇನಂತೀವಿ? ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರನಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕೆಟಗರೀಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಂದರ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸರ್ಸ್. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಬಾಡಿ in the soil there is the presence of many bacterias. These bacteria undergoes the process of which one? Decomposition, the process of decaying. ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ? ವಿಭಜನೆ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಜೀವಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸತ್ತ ನಂತರ ಆ ಜೀವಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ? ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಮಣ್ಣಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೂತಾಗ ಆ ಜೀವಿ ವಿಭಜನೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ವಿಭಜನೆ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಯಾವ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಎ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್, ಫಂಗೈಸ್, ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅವುಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾವ್ರಿ? ವಿಭಜನೆ. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ, those are nothing but a bacterias which are involved in decomposition process are called as a decomposers. These are the three main biotic component. Then we can see a clear cut ideas about the one by one. What is that? Producers. See, producers, these are commonly called, these are capable of photosynthesis. These are capable of photosynthesis. Hence these are also called as a, there is the one word is there, that word is called as a autotrophs. What are these? Autotrophs. So what are autotrophs? Autotrophs are nothing but a self synthesizing their own food. The organisms, if they self synthesizing their own food, are called as a autotrophs. ಟ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್. ಸ್ವಾವಲಂಬಿ ಜೀವಿಗಳು, ಪರಾವಲಂಬಿ ಜೀವಿಗಳು. ಇನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ವಾವಲಂಬಿ. ಆಟೋಟ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕೆಪಬಲ್ ಆಫ್ photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, in presence of sunlight, they must prepare their own food. It is only in the presence of the sunlight takes place. Sunlight plus inorganic matters. Then there is the one process will be happens. That process is called photosynthesis. Photo means light. Synthesis means food, energy that will go into synthesize. So ಇದನ್ನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂತಾರೆ? ದ್ಯುತಿ ಸಂಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೆ. ದ್ಯುತಿ ಸಂಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಯಾವಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ? ತಮ್ಮ ಆಹಾರವನ್ನು ತಾವೇ ತಯಾರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತವೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ರೀ? ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರನಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್. ಏನು? ಸಿಂಥಸೈಸ್ ಫುಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೆಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆಲ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್. ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್. ಹೌದು ತಾನೆ? ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ? ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ? ದ್ವಿತೀಯ ಸಂಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೆ ನಡೆಸ್ತವೆ. ಆ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ ಸಂಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫುಡ್. ದಟ್ ಫುಡ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಫುಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ that's helpful for the animals also. That's nothing but a other all organisms. Like this is the another the important concept about what is that? Producers. The producers are main important is that autotrophs. Then comes second point. What is that second point? Food for themselves and for all organisms. Then comes second one, that is nothing but a consumers. Consumers here see. It includes all animals. That is, so almost all types of animals which are coming in the second trophic level regions, these are all becomes as a animals. The first level only there is the presence of the plants. That will be have the different habitat. If it is in pond, then we are called, those are the phytoplanktons. If it is in grassland ecosystem, it is called as a grasses. Like that. If it is in terrestrial ecosystem, then the producers are nothing but a plants. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರನಾಗಿ ನಾವು ವಿಭಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೋದು. ಬೇರೆ 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 ವಿಂಗಡಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋರಿ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಪಾಂಡ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು, ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಟೆರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಭೂ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಈ ಥರನಾಗಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್. ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬರುವಂಥವು ಎಲ್ಲವಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಹಿಯರ್. So these are heterotrophs. What are these? The main important autotrophs opposite heterotrophs. Heterotrophs in Kannada paravalambi jeevigalu. Those organisms which are depend upon the other organisms for the purpose of food and energy are called as a heterotrophs. All animals are heterotrophs except plants. Incapable of photosynthesis. Yes, these are not undergoes to the photosynthesis. These are capable, these are incapable. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ ಸಂಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಆಗುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್. ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಹೆಟೆರೋಟ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಎ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿ. In this consumers, there are three main categories are there. Those three main categories are nothing but a first one, primary consumers, next secondary consumers, and third one, tertiary consumers. Then come, what are those primary consumers? These primary consumers we are denoted as a letter C1. Secondary consumers C2. Tertiary consumers C3. Then come, what is this C1? C1, these are also called as a herbivorous. Feed on green plants. ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು, ಹೌದು ತಾನೆ? ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು? ಹರ್ಬಿವೋರಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಹರ್ಬಿವೋರಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದೀಸ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ಫೀಡ್ ಆನ್. ದ ಫೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಈಟಿಂಗ್. ಫೀಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ತಿನ್ನುವುದು, ಈಟಿಂಗ್. ದೀಸ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ಫೀಡ್ ಆನ್ ಗ್ರೀನ್ plants. Which one? Those are called as a primary consumers. Next, these regulates the population size of producers. These are regulates the population size of the producers. How much percentage or how much number of producers will present in that habitat, that should be a variation takes place by the herbivorous only, because herbivorous feed on the plants, grasses, like that, phytoplanktons. So those are all nothing but almost all producers. Those producers level will be become variated due to the primary consumers. This regulates, if it is once increases, one decreases, everything. The number and energy level would be greater than that of C2 and C3. What is this meaning of this point? The number and energy level that will be greater than that of the C2 and C3. Dear students, this is the producers, we call it is a P, and the consumers C1, C2 and C3. Just think about, we are here only C1. The C1 number should be increases than the C2 number and C3 number, and producer number should be increases than the C1, C2, C3, like that. The more number, there is the presence of grass, then the less C1, then the less C2, then the less C3, like that. The almost all, that how it goes in the pyramid level, the energy level will be going to increases, like that the number will become a decreases. What is the number? Organism number. So that same condition here also. The number and energy level would be greater than that of the C2 and C3. Which greater? Those are called as a primary consumers. This is the concept idea about the first category of consumers, that is C1. Then goes to the C2. What is this C2? C2 is nothing but a secondary consumers. Secondary consumers, these are also called as a primary carnivorous, like that I told. These are also called as a primary carnivores. The first, here only it going to start at the primary carnivores. These are called as a C2. Next, these feed on C1 for food and energy. That will be dependency. One organism depend upon the other organism. Then the top organism is going to feed on the bottom level of organism, like that here also. Okay, the first, these called primary carnivorous, feed on C1 for food and energy. Same, the number and energy level much greater than that of the C3. That will be main, above number is decreases compared to the below number will be increases, and next then the below number increases. Now finally producers will become the main role in the ecological pyramids. So that's their numbers should be higher than the all other trophic levels. So ee taranaಗಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, the C2 will depends upon the C1. So next C1 will depends upon the producers. So ee taranaಗಿ pyramid start ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, next, this is that of the C3. This is secondary consumers, or we call it is a primary carnivorous. Then goes to the C3. ಆಗ C3 ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. C3 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟರ್ಸರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ್ದು ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು? That's called as a small fishes and frog, like that I am going to mentioning here. Grasshoppers, next frog, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಫಿಶಸ್ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣನೇ ಫ್ರಾಗನ್ನು ತಿನ್ನು ಬದುಕುವಂಥದ್ದು ಸ್ನೇಕ್, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಫಿಶಸ್ ತಿನ್ನುವಂಥ ಬದುಕೋದು ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಆರ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಫಿಶಸ್, like that. Okay, then come tertiary consumers. These called secondary carnivorous. Those are primary carnivorous and these are secondary carnivorous, and these are feed on C2 for food and energy. These are food on the C2 for food and energy. These the number and energy level would be least of all. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಯಾವುದಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಟಾಪ್ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್. ದ ಟಾಪ್ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಟು ದ C2, ಕಂಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಟು ದ C1 ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್. ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ type of the number will be decreases how the increasing level of the trophic level. Okay, next, the examples are big fishes. The big fishes or snake or top carnivorous like eagles, those are all examples coming under the tertiary consumers. So these are the categories of the consumers. In the consumers, there are main three categories are there, dear students. The first category, primary consumers. Those are nothing but a producers. All plants are called as a coming under the primary consumers. Next one is that secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. Next, top carnivorous. The secondary consumers are called as a primary carnivorous and tertiary consumers are called as a secondary carnivorous. Then come the another category, that category is called as a decomposers. We already discussed about what is the meaning of producers, what is the meaning of consumers, then we go for the decomposers. Decomposers. What is decomposers? Decomposers is nothing but the process of rotting or decaying, simple process. The process of they are called as a rotting or it's also called as a decaying. The process of rotting or decaying, how that process is undergo, it is a decaying of the plants and animals or dead bodies of plants and animals which are converted as a simplest organic or inorganic compounds. So that process we call it is a decomposition. The process of decaying of dead organism, dead plants and animals and converted as a simplest inorganic compounds by an decomposers. What are those decomposers? Those decomposers are nothing but a bacteria and fungi. So there are several decomposers are there and these are the main important bacteria are play very important role in the soil to rotten that dead body, to decaying that dead body. Like that fungi also play very important role in that way. So that type of the one process or condition is called decompositions. And that will be done by the decomposers. So for example, bacteria, fungi. Then come what is this? The decomposers also called as another name, that is nothing but saprophytes. These bacteria or fungi which are involved in the decaying process are also called as saprophytes. Remember this word, dear students. Don't get confusing. What is saprophytes? Saprophytes are nothing but decomposers. The saprophytes feed on dead bodies of plants and animals and reduce them into simpler chemical elements. Simpler chemical elements to be reused by producers for the process of photosynthesis and also nutrients. See how the cycle will be, again it is coming towards the producers. Producer to decomposer, decomposer to producers. After the death of the producers, after the death of the consumers, where they go, they almost all buried under the soil. In the soil, there is the process will be started, that process is called as a decomposition. This decomposition having almost all 3 to 4 steps are there. In that 3 to 4 steps, all that dead body is going to converted as a inorganic compounds, as a sulfur, as a phosphorus, as a carbon dioxide, like that. So inorganic compounds it going to form, and those inorganic compounds respired by the, what are those? Producers, nothing but a plants. Then those inorganic compounds will going to take it as an nutrients. Then it start the process. Which process? Photosynthesis, in the presence of sunlight. See in the ecosystem how this cycle will become reused. So this is the main important concept about how this ecosystem play very important role in the human mankind purposes. In all way, the plants and animals have the important role in the ecosystem. That's why these all are living in a interrelationship or interaction with one another together. That only we call it is a, what is that? Ecology. This definition is given by the scientist that is called as a E. Haeckel. H. Reiter is coined the term, what is that? Ecology. But E. Haeckel, he will be given the definition how the organisms are interrelated with the atmosphere conditions together play very important role. So this is the idea and concept about the decomposers. These are also nothing but a saprophytes. Okay, this is the ideal concept about complete the biotic components. Dear students, in the examination they are going to ask you for the 5 marks question, write a note on biotic factors or write a note on biotic components in an ecosystem. Then you go for the first 3, producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers you can write, consumers, in the consumers 3 categories, primary, secondary, tertiary, and finally you go for the decomposers along with the example. So we can stop here only. In next class we are going to discuss about the abiotic components. Okay, thank you.